Welcome back to the Sam JW channel for only the second time in these reviews and the fourth time this season. Oxford United managed to secure 3 points, and once again it was at Grenoble Road. The 8-game winless run is over, a 1-0 win against Hull City last night. Let's have a chat. So yes, Oxford United 1, Hull City 0. This was the dictionary definition of a smash and grab. As we'll get into shortly, Hull had the greater of the ball and they created a fair number of pretty decent opportunities that really they should have stuck away. I mean, to be honest, they could have been 3-0 up by half time, but the man making his full debut got a vital goal, and it was a very impressive goal for the right back, but again we'll talk about that momentarily. So lineups, of course, that's all where we always start. Jamie Cumming kept his place in goal. Kieran Brown, Ben Nelson and Elliot Moore started. I believe it was more like a back five. So we had Greg Leigh as the left wing back. On right wing back we had, making his full Oxford United debut, Hidde Ter Avest, the Dutch right back, who's played of course for SC Twente, for FC Utrecht, for Udinese in Serie A. A very experienced right back, finally making his full bow after of course getting some minutes as a sub against Sunderland. Will Volks and Josh McEachran started as the 2 6s, with Idris El Mazouni, Tyler Goodrum and Dane Scarlett making up the rest of that lineup. Like I say, I think it was more like a 5-2-2-1. So obviously Dane Scarlett had a lot of running to do, and to be fair to the lad, he did do a lot of running in that game, just wasn't able to add to his goal tally that he's already racked up in an Oxford shirt, but I do think he should continue as the starting 9. Like I say, it was a proper smash and grab this game. Just looking at this at the first half, we were battered. Hull had much better control of the ball and created a ridiculous number of chances. I mean, if we look down here, it's 44th minute is when Oxford had our first shot of the game. One of them actually counts as a big chance. I'm not sure which one that would. I presume it would be this one from Hidde Ter Avest, or just fires it straight down the throat of the Hull keeper. But yeah, chance after chance after chance, and there's a lot of ones that actually aren't included in this shot map, because time and time again Hull were fizzing the ball across the face of goal, and no man in a white shirt on the night was able to get on the end of it. Like I say, I think they could have been 3-0 up by half time by the quality of chances they were creating with the balls across the area, but a lot of shots from range from these areas kind of going over the bar, a lack of composure in front of goal from Hull City. Fair to say that their recent run is starting to affect the players on the pitch. Obviously we talked about the fact that Portsmouth fans think they were very unlucky to not get all 3 points when they went to the MKM Stadium. But like I say, a lot of chances for Hull City, but neither side could find an opener. And like I say, we did get out of that first half with a very lucky not to be at least 1-0 down. Second half, I mean, this is when it really stepped up. Again, only 2 shots for Oxford United, 1 big chance created. This was, at this point in the game, it really switched, and the game became much more about each side's real lack of ability to create chances in the opposition area. While Hull do have 3 shots, you can see here in the area, none of them really troubled Jamie Cumming. 2 wild shots over the bar and 1 right down the throat, but again several times where Hull fizzed the ball across the face of goal. No one's on the end of it, and it goes out for a corner kick. again, a lot that the whole players have got to look back on and kind of rule at those missed opportunities, because, you know, they dominated the ball. And that being said, I think Oxford, we weren't terrible with the ball. Just a lack of that final pass, really. But let's talk about the all-important moment. 10 minutes after the restart, and a brilliant bit of play sees Tyler Goodrum receive the ball. Big switch of play out to Greg Leigh, who makes a darting run down the left-hand side. He goes to whip the ball in. Dane Scarlett isn't able to get his head on it, but at the back post is Hidde Ter Avest, who, as the ball bounces up, manages to clip it, on the outside of his foot, past the Hull keeper, and it's a really lovely goal from the Dutchman. And yeah, you know, a dream start to his Oxford United career, his first full start for the club, and he's on the score sheet. Obviously, this is a lad that we talked about in the transfer video, a lot of experience at very high levels, but was a free agent for the majority of the summer. Had been dealing with a little bit of a knock, also some family news. I think you know, for a first few weeks as an Oxford player, you know, he was just a new dad, and so was kind of going back and forth to see his son and his partner. So a lot was contributing to him not being able to get in this Oxford squad, but he's fit. You know, did come off as a substitute, as Des said that had told Des he was suffering with a little bit of cramp around the hour mark, which you can understand, you know, these being his first full minutes as an Oxford player. But it's a brilliant goal from Hidde Ter Avest, and this is a player that already, it's really simple stuff, but already has a bit of a, you know, a smile on his face when he plays for this football club. It's something that, you know, you love to see. It's something that Owen Dale had very early in his Oxford United career. A smile on his face, you know, the love he's getting from the Oxford faithful. And, you know, I think this is looking already, obviously, a very, very little amount of evidence to go off. But I've got a feeling this is really going to be a transfer that works out for Oxford United. Obviously, we didn't create an awful lot after that. Mark Harris with a wild effort in the 96th minute as he came on as a substitute. But we had one or two chances again where we flashed the ball across the face. And, you know, neither side looked really like they were going to score again in this game, and it ended Oxford United 1, Hull City 0. Looking at the lineup and each player's performance, Jamie Cumming with a big performance. He made a couple of pretty big saves in that first half to keep Hull at bay, but I think he didn't have an awful lot to do in that second half. You know, the odd shot that Hull did have was right down his throat. Very simple for Jamie Cumming to save. I thought the back five, it's something I pondered about, if not the last video, the video before, about should we go to a back five or back three with wing backs. And I think it's a double-edged sword, really, having seen it. On the one hand, it does give us that defensive solidity. It does mean we've got that extra bit of cover. However, what it does cause is sucks in real life we've got out of our attacking moves. So I think going forward, especially when we've got the bigger clubs that come to town or we go to their place, I think it's definitely a five at the back. It's something I think we should look to use, but I think against the sides that are kind of around us, I think it's something we should not be deploying. I think, you know, go back to the 4-3-3 with the staggered midfield. That's how we should set up at Grenoble Road, and then we can have a look at, like I say, a five at the back when we go away from home. Elliot's, you know, I can't think of the last time Elliot had a shocking game. He's always reliable. He's the captain for a reason. The presence he has in that back line is astonishing. Ben Nelson unfortunately came off inside an hour. unfortunately, another blow for Ben Nelson. I didn't really see the incident that meant he had to go off, but it didn't look like there was much pressure from Hull players around him that led to him going off injured. So of course he's going to miss the Watford game, and hopefully it's a case like it was with his last injury, that a little bit of time during the international break and we can get him back in the side. Greg Leigh, I thought, was also really good. Obviously gets the assist for the goal. Got done once or twice, but of course the beauty of having a back five is you can have Kieran Brown step across to cover for Greg when he's caught high up the pitch. Look, Greg will always go for aerial duels, and most of the time he wins them. And look, it's very good to see that players that have been out in the cold a little bit have come in and really staked a claim to be starting in this Oxford side. The goal scorer, the man of the match, Hidde Ter Avest, like I said, this is a lad that was a free agent in the summer, joined with not an awful lot of Oxford fans knowing a lot about him, but, like I say, there already is a love for him in the stands, and that finish on a cold night, one of many we're going to have in the coming weeks at Grenoble Road, under the lights, it's what perfect debuts are made of, really. That McEachran-Volks double six was very interesting. I thought this was a really decent performance from Will Volks on the whole. He was battling. I think really Des has either given a rocket up the arse that he needed, or he's had a real think to himself that he needs to improve his performances. I thought Will Volks was actually pretty decent. A lot of times he was really getting stuck in a couple of flicks that he pulled off where I kind of stood back and going, is that Will Volks? Really steady. I think because he had Josh McEachran next to him, there wasn't as much pressure on him to play the ball out, which is what I said, I believe it was the last video, that he needed someone next to him that could play the ball like Barry Bannon did for him at Sheffield Wednesday last season. Josh McEachran has done that. Josh McEachran, a quiet but solid performance from him. Look, not the kind of magic performance we saw from McEachran against Swansea, where he was kind of, managing to hold off his man so much and play beautiful balls. It was just a kind of a steady performance. Another player that's kind of come in from the cold after a little bit of an injury hit campaign. And, I think Josh McEachran's got to stay in this side. I think even when Cameron Brannigan comes back, I think it's got to be McEachran with Brannigan, and then, pick any number of the 10s we've got at this football club. Idris El Mazouni, again, one or two times I thought he was trying to do a little bit too much. Solid, didn't notice him an awful lot, but solid, made some good moves down the left-hand side. He seems to really have a connection with Greg Leigh, which is really great to see, given, of course, he's only been at the football club for, 3 months at this point. But El Mazouni, I bang on about him so often. So, I'm not going to go on even longer when, just go back and watch previous videos about Idris El Mazouni, how much I love that lad. But yeah, I thought he was, decent. He was okay. Tyler Goodrum, fine. Problem with Goodrum is he was being forced out wide quite a lot, and we know that Tyler doesn't really have the pace to compete at this level in the wide areas. I've said time and time again, get him back in the 10 because he's able to work magic in that area. That's what I would like to see, at least for Tyler Goodrum. And then Dane Scarlett ran his socks off. Didn't have too many chances really, Dane Scarlett. Found himself kind of really up against it with that whole back line. They were kind of really tight on him, but his work rate was pretty good, and I guess you can kind of give him a little bit of credit for the goal, because his missed header I think puts one or two defenders off for Hull. So Des used 4 of his available 5 substitutes last night. We'll start with Sam Long. Of course, Sam Long came on and replaced Ben Nelson. Not too much wrong with Sam Long's performance. Another player that's kind of come in from the cold. He did lose an aerial duel, but he kind of, he covered pretty well. A couple of big interceptions, big challenges from Sam Long. As much as I think he does get stick, I think I always think that Sam Long is pretty much Mr. Reliable for this football club, and there's not an awful lot Sam Long did wrong, other than lose 1 aerial duel pretty much last night. Mark Harris, didn't have an awful lot to do in those 25 minutes he was on the pitch. I think Des might have told him to kind of save yourself a little bit for Watford, even though I think Dane should start against Watford really. Yeah, not really much that Harris did. We just need Mark Harris to get some confidence. Hopefully he can go away with Wales in the international break and get some of that confidence back. Peter Kioso, so far we've only given him a 6.0 rating, which I think obviously doesn't count a lot of the work he did in those last kind of 5-10 minutes really. It was him and Ruben Rodriguez that were kind of keeping the ball penned in the corner. And I have to say, Peter Kioso was pulling out some really techie little moves I've never seen from him before. It was some really good work also to kind of maybe create another opportunity. Beats his man, whips the ball in, but either it's claimed by the whole keeper or it goes right across the face of goal. But I thought Peter Kioso looked actually pretty decent for the 25 minutes he came on for. And then Ruben Rodriguez. Ruben, again, much like Mark Harris, didn't do an awful lot. Was pretty instrumental in obviously the kind of late stage shithousery to try and see the game out. But not an awful lot wrong with any of the subs really. All I'll say is how football can change in the space of a couple of days. Of course, Saturday I was saying, maybe the long unbeaten run has kind of papered over some of the cracks, and we went down to 19th. We were 2 points above the relegation zone. We've climbed back up to mid-table. We're 5 points off the relegation zone, 4 points off the playoffs. That's the madness of this championship season. Everything is just so tight in at this point in the campaign. And the fact of the matter is that we continue to compete at this level. Obviously, there's a lot of, times like today, last night I should say, we did get battered on a lot of the stats, but there wasn't an awful lot of quality from Hull. Hull are obviously a side that have struggled. I think they just missed out on the players, if I remember rightly, last season under Liam Rosenior. So that it's proof that they're a club that is trying to go in the right direction, even though if recent fortunes haven't shown it. But it's important to get these points, smash and grab. 3 points is what we need. If we can get something against Watford, which is obviously going to be a very, very tough game. Of course, currently they're sat in the playoffs. That's going to be massive. We can get some kind of points away at Vicarage Road. I will be there, so I will. You will get your video on Saturday after a bit of time to digest the results. But that brings an end to another match overview. Let me know your thoughts on the 1-0 win against Hull City in the comment down below. And I'll see you on Saturday for the match review of Oxford's game at Vicarage Road against Watford. See you later.